short documentary film Маэстро Нуркан Турсунбаев. I was born on the 15th July in 1940 in Kugüçkön Baymat near Tepşi in the Jumgal Valley. I am descendant from the Iman tribe through my grandfather Moldo Şukur. My grandfather Tursunbay was a famous commusist, storyteller, melodist and comedian. And my father Mursali, his only child, followed in his footsteps. My mother was attractive, sophisticated, and had a beautiful singing voice. There were 5 of us in the family. My eldest brother Jumgalbek, a highly talented journalist, satirist poet, and sportsman, was also a skilled musician who played various national instruments. My second eldest brother, Satsalbek, was the best commusist. After me came my sister, Tatibübü, an actress and singer, and then my younger brother, Iman Madi, a painter, sculptor. My father Mursali was the youngest successor of the legendary poet Taktagul, and in 1939 participated in the Decade of Kyrgyz Art in Moscow. A man of his people, he was one of the founders of the Jumgal Collective Farm and the Naryn Musical Drama Theater. We played host to many creative people, including the legendary Mızkal Omurkanova and Medin Alibayev from the capital. On such occasions, my mother prepared a handsome spread, and our home filled with the sound of humus, melodies and laughter. When my mother was pregnant with me, a wise man named Kuyurchuk visited the house and told her, "The child you are carrying is not just a son, but a black falcon." Perhaps because of the old man's blessing, she had an especially close and loving relationship with me, her middle son. My grandfather Tursunbay loved children and would play melodies on his humus to lull us to sleep. When I was only 3 years old, he made me bite the top of his humus, then taught me to play, beginning with the tone of the song Alato. My parents divorced when I was 7 years old. My mom was a highly resourceful and apart from shoes bought from the store, made all of our clothes. It made me realize that our formation as people owes much to our mothers and should never be undervalued. When I was 13 years old, and to show my appreciation, I dedicated my first melody to my mother's birthday. The words I composed to my mother were set to music by Abdukali Moldukmatov and first performed by my sister Tatibübü. The very next day, my uncle Jumgalbek gave me an accordion, and it became my creative soulmate.
Nurkan menen biz ağa inide bir tuğanı bolgonbuz. Öz vağında, Çayek'te.
Recalling those early days, Tajibay Zununov, a contemporary of Tursunbayev, writes, "Growing up in Çayek, Nurkan were like brothers. I was always round at his house, drinking tea and lived here. Later, in 1964, my only child was born in Çayek, and in the absence of grandparents, it was Nurkan's mother, our mother, who looked after my wife and our baby when they came out of hospital." During the school holidays, Grandpa Tursunbay would put me on his donkey and walk with me to my father's house in Minkush, formerly known as Kabak. I thus spent my childhood between Чаек and Минкуш. At school, my sister and I were highly competitive. We were never satisfied with anything less than good or excellent. And were very proactive in amateur talent groups and sport. We never missed concerts and movies that came to our village and were especially impressed by such poets as Khalıq Akiyev and Osmanqul Bölöbalayev. One of the most memorable productions was the opera Ayçürük, based on ancient epic Semete. The famous opera singer Sayra Kiyezbayeva took the role of Ayçürük. Abdullas Maldıbayev played Semete, and Anvar Kutlubayeva, Ayçürük's sister-in-law. The opera, which was presented on a horseback and staged outside on the asphalt of Çayek Bayi, enchained audience access and their respect for the artist, and moreover had a lasting impact on me and Tati Bubu. I also remember the production of Kurmanbek, which brought to Çayek from Frunze, spurred my interest in acting. Kurmanbek was played by the well-known Sıdıkbek Jamanov, Ayqanış by Baken Qıdıkeyeva, Teyitbek by Muratbek Rıskulov, and Konurbay by Nazarbek Çokulbayev. Shortly after completing To My Mother, I composed a series of melodious poems in line with the ideologies of the time and inspired by Jumabek Sherbakunov. At school, I learned to play the qumus, mandolin, balalaika, accordion, and qıl-qiyaq. I performed in music ensembles and orchestras of folk and wind instruments. And was then taught the Manas Overture. In 1959, Çayek hosted a seminar for cultural figures of the Republic, complemented by a concert in which my sister Tati Bubu performed the Chinese-Kyrgyz song Gulkhayr, and I Sonunda by Bolot Abulgaziyev. As a result, the Ministry of Culture provided references for me to enroll on the compositions courses and Tati Bubu on the vocal course at the Tchaikovsky Conservatory in Moscow. In 1960, reviews of our performance led to our introduction to the film industry. The Kyrgyz Film Studio wrote a script for Tati Bubu to play the lead of Salima, and I too was offered a starring role. During the shooting on the Sonkul Jaylo, I finalized the melody Qosh Sonkul to accompany words by Medin Alibayev. Later that year, we were visited by a group of teachers from Tashkent, including Yakov Matveyevich Labach, Dean of the Alexander Nikolaevich Ostrovsky Institute of Art and Theater. Tati Bubu and I were encouraged to sit entrance exams and, having passed, decided to study in Tashkent rather than Moscow. For Tati Bubu's 17th birthday, I composed a melody for Ay Baratat by the famous poet Abdulda Bilekov. Little did I know that this piece would become a hymn for Tati Bubu's after her death.
Біріншіден, мен Нурканбек ағамызға және де Жапаркүл ханымға үлкен алғысымды білдіргім келеді.
Widely praised, it was performed by the Kazakh singer Madina Orozbay, who announced, "I would like to thank Nurkanbek and Japarkul. It's a great honor for me to perform Ay Baratat and Latif Hamid's Nightingale on the big stage." At the end, after my first year in Tashkent, I started in the film Joro by Sergei Tushkan, playing one of the main characters, Moses the Commander.
Я думаю, что ждали. Ну вот, теперь ты видишь, что я говорил правду. Иди. Вода в колодце отравлена, 3 лошади пали. Значит, врагу удалось проникнуть в крепость.
From 1961 to 1962, while studying alongside my friends Esengul Mamudbekov and Melis Jumaliyev, I took the initiative to work with the Kyrgyz circus and developed the very first performance of komuzists on a rope. For this elaborate stunt, I trained acrobats to play popular tunes Koyorun Kuyu, Mash Botoy, Chaykama on the komuz, whilst dangling from the rope by their feet. A unique act, it has now been presented the world over for more than half a century. After graduating in 1966, we embarked on our first careers with the Kyrgyz State Academic Drama Theatre. I was sent on a tour with the crew, sometimes as a brigadier, sometimes as an art director, sometimes as an assistant brigadier. And it was through touring that I received public recognition. Referencing that period, Janusz Kulmanbetov, a Kyrgyz folk writer, wrote, "When he first crossed the threshold of the theater, Tursunbayev was perceived as a lyrical hero. This was firstly due to his appearance and voice, and secondly, the peculiarity of his inner world and his chastity. Without such, no one would have given him the role of Danyar in Jamila. At the same time, we saw these attributes employed in the involution in his portrayal of Baymov, a socialist hero of the early 1980s. In the 13th had a role which unfortunately was short-lived. Then, for whatever reasons, Tursunbayev was given many comedic roles. It was a turn of events which I found very disappointing, since in my view, Tursunbayev is first and foremost a lyrical or social hero rather than a comedian." Most of my life I was spent touring with this theater. During one of these tours, I feel ill, and this, coupled with the need for change in climate, led to me to transfer to the Narin Regional Musical and Drama Theater in the High Valley, where I worked for about 3 years. Then, shortly after the death of my older brother Jumgalbek, and to help my mother, I transferred to Jumgal as a director of the House of Culture, where I headed the legendary ensemble Bekbekey. After 2 years, I returned to the Kyrgyz Drama Theater and continued my artistic journey. The sudden death of my sister hit me hard. My world collapsed and the time stood still. From that day forth, I decided to dedicate my life not only to creativity, but also to the glorification of my sister's legacy, to Kyrgyz art. Support was secured for various initiatives and streets, schools and several sites, including a small flower garden in the center of Bishkek, which were named after Tatibübü. My wife Jiparkul and I personally arranged for both a statue to be erected and the beautification of Bishkek City Hall. Aside for comparative events, Tatibübü Square becomes recognized as one of the city's most beautiful landmarks. In 1986, whilst heading the Institute of Medicine's folk ensemble, I met my life partner Jiparkul. An important turning point in my life, it led to my composition of music for the song White Bride, with lyrics by poet Medin Alıbayev.
тилинде катылуу. Uzak yıllar jogorku ortaok jayda.
For many years, I led folklore groups in higher and secondary educational institutions and received several rewards for my pedagogical achievements.
Nurkan
With reference to the above, the academician Altai Borubayev wrote, "When speaking about the Maestro Nurkan, the talented person is talented in everything he does. In his case, this extends to his talent as a teacher, which is largely due to his high sense of humanity. I am an academician of science, and in my regard, the Maestro Nurkan is an academician of humanity."
özümdün tuğulgan jerime arına.
My next major work was dedicated to my birthplace, entitled The Geologist's Song. Its lyrics belong to the famous poet Berdigul Kurmankulov.
Altıncı günü geçinde sözü belgili hak.
Saturday Night, with lyrics by the famous poet Maraliyev, was composed back in 1960 and performed on the accordion whilst I was still at school.
1974
It was then prosecuted and for his redemption at the World Competition in Prague in 1974. Bolat Minjilkiyev was awarded the grand prize.
uçurunda toy giyim.
The fact that this piece, which has since become a wedding anthem, continues to be performed today with its full bass and baritone repertoire is a source of utmost pride.
Анын жанагыдай табылгалуу ырлары ошол эле айбаратат, ошол эле 6-күнү кечинде жана энекеме.
Praising the wide appeal and quality of Nurkan's work, Timur Salamatov, honored worker of Kyrgyz Republic culture, states, "The same lasting qualities are to be found in all of his works, from The Moon is Coming and Saturday Night to Mother and Goodbye Sonköl. Unique in content and concept, they are all imbued with a dateless, widely melody and thoughtful lyrics. I hope that such songs will not become absolute and through time continue to attract new listeners."
1997 yılı
In 1997, as a continuation of my educational work, I developed a program to ensure that future generations learned about their people's culture history. Approved by the Ministry of Education, it has proved widely popular.
Çıngiz Aytmatov'tun
Having long dreamt of composing music for Chingiz Aytmatov's novel Jamila, I elaborated with the famous poet Kıyalbek Urmanbetov. The song Jamila was born and in 2019 won me the main prize in the national competition for composers.
laureat oldum. 2018 yıldan başlap bir gana menin çıkarmalarım menen 2 yılda bir ötkörlüğüçü.
In 2018, a biennial competition focusing on Nurkanbek Tursunbaev's songs was launched in Isikul, entitled Song of the Wave. It is now established international academic vocalist event.
Tünkü kayık çıkarmamdın sözü ulu akın.
The lyric of Night Boat belonged to the great poet Alıkul Osmanov. I like to compose music for songs by poets with a positive outlook and on themselves relating to Isikul and motherhood, which are especially close to my heart.
Burcu beri uşul tünkü kayıktı, göl üstünde men bolayın uçkan kuş.
Kaydasın Çıngiz dastanımdın sözü de özüme tanı.
The words of my epic Where Are You Chingiz are mine alone, and were written as a tribute to the country's greatest talent. The earliest heroes of my sister and I were characters from the works of the great writer Chingiz Aytmatov.
Tattıkem
My Little Poplar in the Red Scarf, and I played the role of Danyar in the play Jamila. Our children were subsequently named after these characters. Over the year, I have played over 100 different characters.
Teatrda жүзден ашуун ар кыл каармандардын образдарын жараттым.
Over the year, I have played over 100 different characters. My most recent role in Mukhtar Aouyezov tragedy and Ligue Quebec, a new theatrical work dedication to my 80th anniversary, is that of Saint Avis Nishan. Paying homage to Tursunbayev, Jipariza Kochurbayeva, honored artist of Kyrgyzstan, writes, Uncle Nurkan is good-natured, talkative, has a good sense of humor, and a simple, sincere talent. Throughout his theatrical career, he excelled in countless roles which will be forever remembered by the crowds who gathered to watch his every plays as he turned from the village to village. I have followed him from the outside and can justly claim that he is a people's favorite actor. I prefer the simple life and value creative purity. For me, the theater is sacred, and music an infinitive universe. Both give me meaning to my life.
Muzika çeksiz ağlam. Yaşoğumdun mаңызы.
Screenwriter Jiparkul Tursunbayeva Aman Kızı, Director Busurman Odurakayev, Cinematographer Nurlan Temirbek Ulu, Voice Cameraman Mars Tugelov, Film Director Almas Suputayev, Editor Temir Birnazarov, Players Tursunbayev Nurhan Bolot, Hashimov Asiyin, Musaraliyeva Saparkan, Asiyinova Khadича, Kedeyev Ali, Saparбеков Jaysan, Talaybekova Nistan, Film Footage Salima, Red Apple, Urkuya, Joro, Мыскал, Kyrgyzfilm. CEO, the National Film Studio named after Tulumush Okeyev. Melodies by Nurkan Tursunbayev from Tursunbayev's personal archive. Acknowledgements: Kyrgyz National Academic Abdullas Moldebayev Opera and Ballet Theater, Kyrgyz National Philharmonic named after Taktugul Satılganov, Kyrgyz National Academic Toktobolot Abdumamunov Drama Theater, Nарын Regional Academic Muratbek Ryskulov Music and Drama Theater, Jumgal Music and Drama Theater named after Kalık Akiyev, Kyrgyzfilm 2022.